Afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Rewired 2026 webinar. We're going to let a few people sign in. I can see the button flashing up with people joining at the moment. So we'll just give everyone a couple of minutes and then I'll introduce you to my colleagues. First, we need to introduce some suitable hold music in future, Chris, to keep people swinging and dancing while we're waiting for people to sign in. I'll put myself back on mute because it beeps every time somebody logs on. Well, we're a couple of minutes in, so I'll do some introductions while any final people join us, and then maybe some that join us a bit later. Not everybody will know me. I'm Carl Grundy. I'm the MD of Digital Health. I've been here since the beginning. Hopefully not too many war wounds and scars across the face. That's more to do with having young children than digital health. My fellow presenters are Chris Marsom, who's our head of marketing, Neil Hadland, who's our head of events. We'll run you through some wonderful highlights from Rewired 25, which Chris and the wonderful techie team that we have put some nice video and slides together to show you just a couple of bits of feel and some of the good stats that we had. Some of the stats that we've had from attendance and audience, which is a lot of questions people have. One, whether it's NHS, are there my peers attending, but also from suppliers in terms of needing to know what kind of people are attending. Some details about where the focus is going to be next year. Some changes to our theatres. Neil talking through the actual building itself, the location, some of the exhibitor opportunities, what people do. And then just a final view of the floor plan, as we had a ridiculously successful rebook on the show at Rewired 25 and 26. So the floor plan is looking very busy already. But Chris, I believe I'm going to pass over to you if you're ready to go, sir.
Yeah, thanks, Carl. Hello, everyone. Warm welcome. As Carl said, to kick us off, we're just going to have a little look back at some of the highlights from Rewired 2025. And I think, Nat, if you can cue us up to the next slide and hit the play button, we'll sit back and enjoy the show. Thanks, Nat. If you go to the next slide. Yeah, you'll see from the video there some amazing highlights, real good kind of vibe to the show last year. Over 4,000 unique attendees convened in Hall 2 of the NEC in Birmingham across the 2 days. We put on, what we feel is an industry-leading program, which featured over 300 speakers, including policy leaders, NHS system leaders, acute NHS CEOs, emerging innovators, and plenty of best practice and knowledge sharing between NHS organisations. So part of what makes the show so special. Over 90% of attendees rated the quality of the show either excellent or good, and 160 exhibitors participated again commentating on the quality of conversations and their leads at the show. So very kind of proud of what we produced. Real good team effort and great to kind of bring the UK digital health community together once again. On screen, we'll just see a kind of couple of the speakers that we're able to attract, and just to kind of get a good kind of quality program together across all levels across the kind of the UK community. Now on to the next slide, please. So you'll see on screen just got a bit of a breakdown of our kind of public sector audience. You'll notice acute NHS again takes the lion's share of our NHS attendance, which is basically the same as last year, so retaining that kind of that large chunky audience. Mental health was up by 1% on last year, and we expect that to rise again in 2026. A big jump in primary care attendance, that was up 6%. And national body and ICBs were down slightly from last year, slightly expected given the kind of the reorganisations and obviously the news surrounding those organisations for those two organisations. On to the next slide, please, Nat. In terms of looking at a bit more of a granular level at NHS and public sector roles, we attracted more CCIOs, CDIOs, CIOs and CNIOs than any other edition of Rewired, and actually CDIOs jumped up considerably on last year. And indeed, once again, the digital health networks, our community of NHS IT leaders and aspiring leaders played a key role, helping to both develop the program and also be in attendance. So over 700 were actually kind of members of the networks that were there across the 2 days, which is great to see. Our biggest jump in NHS audience volume were managers, which we'll see at kind of the top of the screen there. We also had increasing for nurses and director and senior managers across the NHS. Generally speaking, networking and quality of content scored well in our kind of event feedback across all those categories. Nearly 25% of our Rewired audience was referred from digital health news, which indicates the kind of the power of kind of a channel and being an authoritative voice within the industry. So definitely lots of opportunities for kind of suppliers and commercial organisations to interact with our kind of a core news channel ahead of the event. In terms of kind of audience growth focuses for 2026, we'll continue to kind of focus on acutes, also ambulance trusts as well. Mental health, we think we'll see will grow again. Community, given a lot of the kind of focus as part of the kind of the 10-year plan and some of the reorganisation around the NHS will be key. And also private healthcare providers as well, and international as well. So getting some best practice examples from across the globe, both at kind of a provider level right through to kind of policy really. So and in terms of kind of growth by role, NHS managers and directors will be expanding the programme with more NHS case studies, and we'll have an EPR focus across the programme as well, so more to follow on that shortly. We think CSOs, so clinical safety officers, we're seeing a lot of engagement on the networks for that role as well. So and we'll have kind of more demand for kind of content on governance, digital safety and risk management, that is a key to their roles. nurses and midwives, and we've seen some really positive growth across the last kind of 2 or 3 years on nurses and midwives, and with a focus on kind of digital frontline, we expect that to continue, as well as kind of retaining and growing our kind of core leadership audiences that I mentioned earlier, as part of a kind of a new digital leadership stage. I've slightly kind of burst your bubble there, Carl, because I know that's what you're going to be talking about in a bit more detail next. So that's really my part on kind of delegate feedback and audience. I'm happy to kind of take any questions at the end of the webinar. So I think that's next slide, and over to you, Carl.
Thank you, Chris. Always good to go through some numbers, data-driven organisations and all of that. So we always tweak some of our theatres and stages, no matter how successful it is. It's no good staying stale. We look at what's going on in the market, who's attended, what's happening, some of the policy, where we are with some of the kind of supply community. But one of the stages that's been successful for a while has been digital transformation, and that will remain. But there will be a slight change in focus. It was probably a little bit EPR heavy and not quite transformation heavy enough. EPR is still a core part of our business and our kind of content, so that will continue, but just across other stages. Integrated care, again, remaining as a core stage. We will focus a little bit more on the wider healthcare sphere and the kind of near side machinations of it. So there will be a little bit more mental health focus, a little bit more wider care focus in the integrated care stage, and how that all pins together. We've also separated out one of our stages into 2 stages. So the AI and data stage now becomes the AI stage. So we can just focus on the AI side. One of the most popular shows that we had, some of those keynotes were spilling into the aisles. So we've added some more space. And on the feedback following the event, people still wanted to hear more about AI. So we're trying to cover that. I'm going to skip across the slide a little bit. So we've split out the data into data and digital. This is one of the new theatres for Rewired 26. This will give the opportunity to talk about data, because if you haven't got the right data, you haven't got your data organized, you're going to fail with your AI. And then digital is obviously the platform that delivers that, but also will be an opportunity to talk about more clinical software and the interactions, etc. Cyber and infrastructure remains as a 2-day event as well. A lot of interest in cyber again, and for natural reasons, of course. Patient engagement was something that we recently launched at Rewired 25. We'll continue with that, and I'll come on to one of the speakers that will be in that shortly. We have made a slight tweak. So we had the leadership and team stage, which is now called the digital leadership stage. And this will have a much bigger focus with our networks, our sister business, where we run the CCIO, CIO, CNIO, ICS, stroke ICB, CSO networks with nearly 7,000 members. We're keen to give a much closer link, bigger opportunity for the platform, for the advisory panel members. We've just had new elected members from the NHS representatives, from CCIOs, CIOs and CNIOs. So they will all be joining and presenting, chairing with their teams in there. And we'll try and bring a more kind of multidisciplinary team into the digital leadership area as well. Digital Frontline is a new theatre as well, and we'll have a slightly different format. So for those of you who know Rewired, great. For those of you who don't, what normally happens, if I just take integrated care as an option, we normally have a keynote at the beginning of the session, and then 10-minute talks from other plenary sessions, and then a joint Q&A at the end. One of the bits of feedback, both from talking to people, from our marketing, from data inputs that we get both during and kind of post-show, is that sometimes people find that great, but would like to just go a couple of levels of granulation, open the bonnet a bit more. So with both Digital Frontline and our other new theatre EPR implementation and optimization, need to make sure I have my teeth in for that one, that we can actually go into a more deep dive into best practice, good practice, with more of a case study approach. So that'll be more of hopefully again an MDT team coming in, presenting for 20 minutes about what they've done, how they did it, how they built the business case, what they got right, what they got wrong, what are the business benefits and business outcomes that they've achieved from that, and then a larger Q&A session for it to be more interactive with the audience to ask specific questions. So digital frontline EPI implementation optimization will have a slightly different style and feel, and the same for the suppliers to get involved. They'll be able to do longer presentations by bringing their clients on board to talk about what they've done, how they've implemented it, and how they've changed things for the better by using digital. Our other feature show areas remain. So best practice showcase, which has proved more and more popular every year. I think it was the busiest I've ever seen it at Rewired 25. Some really great content there from innovators, from NHS, a lot of those people from the call for papers, just giving insights into some of the things that don't always get the headlines, but are actually changing and making a difference back at where they work on the front line. And Pitch Fest, which is our zone of bringing in new innovators and startups to present what they're doing to try and change things in digital health, and to try and give an opportunity for some of those smaller organizations who don't always have the budgets of others to get involved in Rewired. So we try and bring that kind of inclusive content and let everybody get involved. Next slide, please, Nat. So just a couple of speakers. So Eleanor, who's our program manager, has secured Jonathan Brotherton, who's the CEO of Hospital of Birmingham, and Rachel Powers, who's from the Patient Association. So as I mentioned earlier, that should be one of the speakers who would appear on the patient engagement stage. We've also just secured Hutan, who probably do the keynote on the AI stage. He's responsible for AI and big data at Imperial, and also chief scientist for preemptive AI. He's a practicing surgeon and has more letters after his name than I could probably write down. So hopefully a nice new speaker to get everyone stirred up on AI. We will also continue to bring in that balance between some speakers from the centre, from policy, direction, and also hopefully some treasury money to support everyone's ideas and implementation as they move through. But again, with Rewired, we focus a lot on what people are actually doing, what they've done, what they're trying to do in the market. So there's always a bigger focus on actually what people have done, what they're doing to go through that. And we'll have a smattering of leading lights and international speakers, as we always do at Rewired. Next slide, please, Nat. So how do you get involved in the program? So the call for papers is now live. So if you go to the Rewired website, whether you're a supplier, whether you're NHS, whether you're a private hospital, private care provider, you can go on there and actually say, I would like to put this person forward. These are the reasons why. We then use our advisory panels, which are a mix of some of our elected NHS advisory panels from the networks, a few other people that we've added, and some of our headline sponsors. So our headline sponsors this year are the Access Group again, and Optum have joined us last year. This year. Last year we had Microsoft and Access. So they'll be on that board along with horrible people like myself and a couple of other people from digital health. We'll review those call for papers and then decide what stages they're suitable for. So some will obviously go on the best practice showcase, but others will go on some of the other theatres as well. In terms of sponsorship options, the sponsorship options remain the same as previous years, and you can be a stage sponsor for one of those theatres. You can be a session sponsor. Sessions are normally broken down into 2 morning slots, 2 afternoon slots, so you can sponsor a kind of second morning and you're the session sponsor of that session. It's kind of helpful in terms of GDPR and things like that, because obviously if you're the sponsor of that session, you get the delegate details for that session of people attending. So there's linkage in that sense. But also in terms of best practice showcase, they're 5-minute rapid talks. We can get a lot more speakers on that kind of stage. And hopefully with more teams of people speaking on the 2 new theatres that I mentioned earlier, that'll give people a lot more choice and opportunity to hear from everybody. We're quite a diverse organisation, despite the 3 middle-class white men presenting today, and quite a diverse kind of event. So, if you think that you don't fit in, you will do. Please send us your details and we'll go through it. We also run round tables. We have fringe events. Neil spends a lot of time trying to organise and work with our partners on those. We've had various launches. We've had iftars for ending Ramadan. We've had book launches. So if you don't see something written down, don't think that you can't get involved. Get in contact with us, and if it's early enough, we'll see what we can do. Next slide, please, Nat. So one of the things that we have changed is we had the speaker lounge outside of Hall 2 at the NEC. We've brought it inside this year, one, so that people aren't, segregated out from any part of it. So all the speakers, we're not like other shows where people come in and speak and then leave. People speak and then become the audience, become the delegates. And we just want to make sure that they're in amongst it, can feel the vibe, see what's going on and add to it. And also just gives an opportunity for them to have a quiet area at the back to do some work and things like that. So that'll be moving inside. That'll be on the right hand side. So Neil and his team have done a nice little kind of layout of how that might kind of look. And the team will make sure that people are looked after in there. Next slide, please, Nat. Neil, I'm going to pass over to you. Thank you very much. I'll speak to you later.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Hope you're well, enjoying the sunshine. So I look after the logistics for the events, and I'm just going to talk through the various ways you can appear on the show floor. Obviously, depending on your budget. One of the things we've found really successful over the last couple of years is our pods. And as you can see there on the screen, what we do, you really just need to turn up, because what we will have waiting for you is a super little pod there. It's 2 meters by a meter. You have storage just underneath, but basically you just place your laptop on the top. There's a terminal, there's a screen there for you. Your logo and branding will be on there. There's lighting, and there's some furniture, some stools for you to meet and greet people. So we place these all together on a nice island site, and they're really very busy. It works very well for sort of smaller startups, and it's a really quite engaging area. Lots of, as you can see from the pictures there from last year, people just flock to it. We put some floor tiles down to guide people to you as well, so you don't get lost. But that's the sort of the first step in if it's your first time at Rewired. We go to the next slide. So we want to try and make it as easy as possible for you to have a good time on the show floor. So there's two types of stand, like most exhibitions, that you can take. The first type is called shell scheme. So shell scheme is we build it for you. It's got plain walls. It will have a fascia panel with your company name on. We provide the carpet. We provide the lighting, and there's also electricity there for you. So it's an empty shell. A blank sheet of paper for you, and it's very cost effective. You don't have to create your own stand. It's there. You can walk in and put what you like within the stand. We also offer a service whereby you can stick things to the wall, obviously, but a lot of people last year, and it was great to see, booked a shell scheme stand, and we put you in contact with our on-site contractor, and many people had lovely bespoke graphics to replace the plain panels. They're a very cheap option as well, and it really does make just a more personalised bespoke effect for your stand. So when you do book, when you talk to the commercial team, they'll put you in touch with me, and if you are looking to give it a little bit more of a wow factor, then just talk to me and we'll talk through the logistics of that for you. And once again, it's walk in, your bespoke panels will be up there waiting for you, and you could set up your stand. So the hall we are in, again, I forgot to say, is actually Hall 2, which is the closest to the station. So it's the nice one right by the train station, and it's just down the stairs. It's a 3-minute walk from Birmingham International. So it's a great hall, nice and close for transport links. The other type of stand you can do, which normally the bigger companies go for, is, as you can see in that slide, it's a space only stand. And literally, when you talk to the sales team, you're just buying an area on the show floor, and you will appoint a contractor who will do all your building work for you. So I will liaise with the contractor to make sure health and safety things are met. But that is an absolute godsend to have nice, bold, bright stands on the show floor. You can do them of any size. We had some lovely smaller ones, sort of 4 metre by 3 metres, which were purpose built. So if you do have a better budget, it's worth investigating. If you've never used a contractor before, I don't recommend one, but I have a list of people I've worked with over the years, and you can go to them and get some quotes for yourself. But a lovely space stand really makes your show much brighter. As you can see in the top left there, there's, because we're in the hall 2, we've got availability to rig and hang banners down from the ceiling, which obviously you can see from anywhere on the show floor. So we will pinpoint your location, your message, wherever you are on the show floor. So again, I can give you details of that. We work with the NEC to get it all rigged for you, and it will be there for you on your arrival, highlighting your stand. So on top of all this, there are services. We have approved suppliers. So you've got your shell scheme, it's empty. Now you can bring in your own furniture, you can bring in your own screens, you can bring in your own AV. But if you don't have that sort of stuff, we have tried and trusted suppliers who can help you with internet. They will help you with AV, furniture. If you want some plants on there, we can get some nice plants. And then clearly, if you're looking for a coffee machine or any sort of catering throughout the show, there's a one-stop shop that the logistics team will send to you, and it's a straight click and link to those suppliers. So they're all approved, and it just makes your life easy with a one-click sort of purchase and inquiry page. We want to try and make it as easy as possible for you. So if you have any questions before you even buy a stand, just email me. Details are coming up at the end. And we're just here to help make your experience as good as it can as an exhibitor. One final thing, the catering last year, I've got some great reviews, some lovely feedback as well. So we're pleased to say that we've got a big vegan option as well for those dietary requirements. So we're working with Green Kitchen there. So there'll be a standalone area as well, just to make sure we accommodate everyone's dietary. But lots going on the floor plan, lots of energy as ever. And if you've got any questions about what you can or you can't do on the show floor, please just drop me a line. That's it from me.
Thank you, Neil. So just one thing to add for people who have experienced Rewired previously, as part of us being part of the larger Closer Still family now, they add a registration fee, which doesn't really tell you what that actually means. The registration fee means you get a scanner on your phone so you can actually scan people's badges. So instead of the old days where you used to have to book the scanners through the forms, through Neil's team, and then go and pick them up, scan everybody, download them, try and get the data back later, you'll just get the access to the app on the phone, and then you're able to do that. So that's what that registration fee is for. So that's all kind of taken away and all a lot smoother, and you don't have to have physical devices and buy each device. You can just get your team running through that one. Next slide, please, Nat. So just, I can't get 80 logos on there, otherwise we would do, but just to give you a bit of a highlight, we are an inclusive event. So we do have, the large main players in digital health. We also have newcomers, people trying to get into the market. We have people taking pods, as Neil mentioned earlier, or the innovator kiosk, depending on what area you want to be in. We have shell scheme stands at kind of 9 square meters, up to large stands, 68 meters squared, which you can do what you like with in the realms of health and safety and headroom, etc. But next slide, please, Nat. So this is the floor plan. I know you can't see everybody that's on there, but just to give you a bit of an outline of where things are, where the stages are. Some people do like to try and book their stands near the stages. You can also see all the ones in green are generally space only, all the ones in yellow are shell scheme, and you can see the amount of companies that have booked already. So pretty much all of the front 50% is sold bar a few stands, but Neil and his team will be adding further stands towards the back. So at the top, you've got patient engagement and the EPR implementation theatres. Beyond that, which is where we had the catering on the right-hand side with individual booths, There will be more space for stands. The one that says cybersecurity infrastructure on the left is just a software glitch. That actually will be another coffee point area, and there'll be more stands made available down there. So if you are looking to kind of book a stand near a theatre, a certain size, open on so many sides, and orientation that fits maybe a purpose-built stand you've got in storage, talk to the sales team as quickly as you can. We work on a first serve basis. We try not to hold stands for people, so it's fair for people. We don't price on where you are, we price on just get it booked and you get a decent stand. So those are the options. Neil works pretty hard to make sure that the annoying pillars don't affect people too much, so they're not in corridors, they're not hopefully in too many people's stands, etc. So a lot of that, and you can see the speaker lounge at the bottom right that I mentioned earlier that is now in the room. All the kind of main people that you can see are expected. We don't have any control over the Wi-Fi. We're in the hands of the NEC on that. So apart from the kind of open Wi-Fi for delegates and everybody attending, if you do want to show something, you do need to hire a direct line from the NEC, but it'll be on one of Neil's forms that him and the team will send out to you. We can't control the prices, so please don't swear at us when you see the cost of it. But get a dongle, download things, run static presentations if in doubt, etc. So that is the main kind of detail. We will be running a future webinar. The program team will join us on the next webinar where we'll go into a little bit more detail about some of the speakers, a bit more detail on some of the content around the theatres, an update on some of the sponsors. So, the fact that we haven't mentioned that, GraphNet are also sponsoring digital transformation session, that the Opton are the stage sponsors, Access Group are the stage sponsor of Integrated Care as part of theirs. There's some others that are in as well, but we only have so much kind of inventory. We don't fill it with opportunities. We try and draw that balance between giving our supply community the opportunity to meet the audience and present, but it is predominated by kind of key NHS speakers. Someone's asked a question around, do we have case studies on exhibitors' commercial impact by attending? Yeah, we can share that from the sales team. We've got quite a few testimonials. Chris from the marketing team has got a load of testimonials from some of the suppliers, how it's changed their business. We've also got details looking back over the years where you can see people have come in as an innovator kiosk and then they've quickly grown to a shell scheme. Now they're taking 40 meter squared space stands. So obviously they wouldn't be doing that. You can see from the rebook, as I think we've only sold a handful of stands and some sponsorships since the rebook on the day, the amount of people that have rebooked their stands is hopefully probably one of the best calling cards for what an effective show it is. But yes, we can share a bit more detail with you on that. And Chris has got a bit of, we have the sales brochure also on the website, which you can download if you put in your details. There's some more of Chris's stats in there. There's a few testimonials in there, pricing around sponsorships, exhibition, square meterage, etc. So rather than go into the nitty-gritty of all of that now, it will be on there, but also talk to the sales team. Okay. Is there any questions, whether marketing, Neil, myself? I'll give people a few moments. Now, could you show the last slide for me, please, just for kind of contact details to help people? So obviously questions, as I mentioned, you can download the sales brochure. There is the contact details there for sales at digitalhealth.net. Any questions that come up that are specifically for Chris or for Neil and his team, we can share those, move those on, etc. And then Neil can get back to you directly. If you just want to throw some ideas around, one of our clients has recently asked about, could we do a bit of a hack day at the event? More than happy, as long as we've got the time to try and allocate a space. We had the Norwegian pavilion at Rewired 25, where we worked with the kind of commercial attaches with the embassy there, and they brought in some of their leading suppliers across the Scandinavian market. So we'll be looking at doing more areas like that as well. So as I mentioned earlier, we are not a fixed belt and braces event. Yes, we have structure. Yes, there's certain things we need to do by certain dates. But if you've got something new that you think would work, talk to us. And if I don't have the answer, someone else will do. Neil and I have talked many years about trying to turn bits of Rewired into a kind of full healthcare platform where you go through the full digital interaction of what it's like to be a patient, how you get treated at what point, how you log in, how you change your appointment, how do you use an app, how do you do remote monitoring, how do you go to ED, is there triage, how do you get moved to the next department, how do you get friends and family involved, can you fill an e-consent form in? So there's an awful lot that we can do, but talk to us, talk to your friends, your suppliers, your alliance partners, see if there's something different you want to do. I'll ask the question one more time. Are there any final questions? Otherwise, I'll let people get a few minutes of their day back. Lovely. Thank you very much for joining, everybody. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Neil. As I said, we will let you know about an updated webinar when we book that next one in. There will be more details coming. Lovely to see you all. Take care.
Thanks all.